It's essential to perfect your legal documents and agreements, and we understand saving research time and enhancing drafting efficiency are keys to it. That's why we bring you Lexis Clause Intelligence Hong Kong. Lexis Clause Intelligence is a cutting-edge drafting tool. It is designed to uplift the drafting efficiency of law firms, barristers, corporates, academic institutions, and government departments. Powered by leading AI technologies, Clause Intelligence analyzes your uploaded drafts, matches them against legal databases, and delivers recommended clauses and wordings to polish up your drafts. From employment contracts to tenancy agreements to sales and purchase agreements, Clause Intelligence is here to elevate your legal documents to the best-in-class quality. Clause Intelligence is an intelligent tool for you to retrieve the most up-to-date clauses and come up with suggested edits in just a few seconds. The suggestions are carefully curated guidelines that also educate your trainees and grow your new joiners. Get started with Clause Intelligence now to save you time and take your legal drafting quality to the next level. Lexis Clause Intelligence, your reliable legal drafting partner.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this LexisNexis webinar on ChatGPT in legal practice, what you need to know. We are thrilled to have so many of you with us this afternoon for this cross-border panel discussion featuring speakers in regional roles based in Hong Kong, Singapore, Shanghai, and Malaysia. A couple of quick housekeeping notes before we start. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and the recording will be made available on our corporate websites. Secondly, there will be time allocated at the end of the panel for audience questions. So please feel free to submit any questions you may have through the Q&A box, which you should see at the bottom of your screen, and the panelists will endeavor to answer as many as possible at the end of the panel. This has been our most well-received webinar to date. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the moderator of today's panel discussion, Oliver Cheung, Legal Counsel for LexisNexis, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and North Asia. Over to you, Oliver.
Thank you, Roshni. Hello, everyone. My name is Oliver. Welcome to this webinar. As she said, I'll be moderating this session. I'd like to start this webinar by introducing our panelists today. First, we have Min. As the Vice President and the Chief Technology Officer Asia Pacific of our organization, Min is responsible for driving and delivering customer-centric legal innovations across the globe through artificial intelligence, data analytics, cloud-native solutions, and other advanced technologies. Next, we have Jack, the Assistant General Counsel, APAC Intellectual Property, Operations and Technology at Citi. He supports the firm's AI Center of Excellence, regional innovation labs, and fintech teams in their development and deployment of new technologies, as well as enterprise digital transformation initiatives. He also advises on a range of emerging and legacy technology service arrangements across 17 present countries in APAC. Then we have Wei Jet, who is the principal of Lim Wei Jet Advocates and Associate Solicitors. Wei Jet is a dispute resolution lawyer himself who has appeared as counsel at all levels of the Malaysian courts and is well versed in arbitration proceedings. And his core areas of practice are commercial, employment, and public law litigation. Last but not least, we have Raymond, who is the founder and managing partner of Chuck & Associates. Raymond is also a dispute resolution lawyer himself, whose work involves all forms of dispute resolution, including arbitration, litigation, and alternative means of dispute resolution. Raymond's firm is also a key professional partner with the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park, advising tech startups in corporate governance, contractual risk management, and funds execution. So as we can see, we have a very good mix of panelists today, having a tech insider as well as practitioners from the private practice as well as in-house legal functions. I look forward to all the insights to be shared by the panel today. So let's jump right in, starting with the very basic question of the session today. What is GPT and why is it generating so much hype? Perhaps if we can start with Min, who can share some insights about this, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, thank you. Although they're basic questions, I try to make it less technical. First of all, you might have heard ChatGPT, GPT-3, GPT 3.5, and GPT-4. They're all large language models developed by OpenAI. And why we call them large language models, mainly because it's based on the parameter size. It grows from previous language model from millions of parameters into billions and even trillions nowadays. And ChatGPT is fine-tuned from GPT 3.5, but trained in a conversational manner. And GPT 3.5 is an improved and upgraded version compared to GPT-3. You can basically consider GPT 3.5 and ChatGPT as one group and GPT-3 as another. And the difference between GPT 3.5 and GPT-3 is the training method. The GPT 3.5 introduced what OpenAI called reinforcement learning from human feedback, in which humans rank potential outputs, and a reinforcement learning algorithm rewards the model for generating outputs that similar to those that human ranked highly. And this method made GPT 3.5 model a big difference from GPT-3 from quality perspective. Now, you might have heard GPT-4 also is already launched. GPT-4 utilizes similar reinforcement learning from human feedback. The major advancement is it enables longer text imports, also accept image imports, including the photos, diagrams, and screenshots. And fundamentally, as I mentioned, GPT-3 and 3.5 and latest version GPT-4, they're all large language models. There are other large language models in the market. It's not just GPT, including open source and commercial versions. For example, you might have heard Google launched Bard, which is a chatbot trained on top of Google's large language model called Lambda. And Meta also has its different version of large language models like OPT, Atlatus, and Llama. The core benefits of large language models is their capabilities to generate human-like language, capturing more complex language patterns and relationships to perform language processing tasks, such as language translation, text summarization, and conversational chatbot. That's why large language models often comes with this fancy term of generative AI, because they can make model much more generalized for multiple different types of tasks. A good analogy is one model rule them all. And because its outstanding strengths on generalization, it can use its training to come up with original ideas and even create new things that haven't been seen before. For example, a generative AI model trained on images of cats might be able to create new images of cats that it has never seen before. A generative AI model using its training on large data sets of text can create new written content on a given topic, such as stories, articles, or even conversations. It works by analyzing patterns and relationships in the text it was trained on, and then using that knowledge to generate new text that is similar in style and tone to the original data. Now, let me quickly go back to the case of ChatGPT, since it's quite popular right now. The model has been trained on a massive corpus of text data from the internet, including books, articles, and websites. Because a lot of text on the internet is written in an authoritative style, large language models have learned to mimic this style. So most of the time, you'll find ChatGPT speaks in a confident way, just like a human being. The model is capable of understanding the context and meaning of the input text and can generate a coherent and relevant response based on that understanding. Overall, generative AI is a powerful tool and that can help us generate new ideas and create things that we might not have been able to create on our own. I hope that's a complete answer for GPT, large language model, and generative AI, because they are all associated with each other.
Thank you, Ian. I'm sure that's more than complete for a layman as myself. I guess my follow-up with this is, could you share some insights with us on how this the release of ChatGPT is impacting, for example, the development products for companies like LexisNexis? Because as we already employ AI-powered technologies in some of our products, such as analytics and clause intelligence?
Yeah, sure. I think from the broader perspective, fundamentally, the way how human interact with AI is redefined. That's a major difference. It is redefined in a transforming way. This will bring incredible opportunities in human and AI collaboration, because the innovation of large language model is this idea of prompts in conversational manner. In the past, we have used all different type of deep learning techniques, but most of the time today, scientists and AI engineers working on that. Of course, we work with our legal SME product manager or the business stakeholders. But with large language model and generative AI, and with this new idea of prompts, any domain experts, they could design a question to prompt a machine learning model. It doesn't require any data science or engineer skill set to type into appropriate prompts in order to get desired results. They're making it easier and faster to generate high quality content. These technology can help business and organizations to automate information extraction, content creation, content summary, which would in turn reduce cost and improve efficiency. Now, let me talk about from LexisNexis perspective. I see tremendous potential for us to use large language models like ChatGPT, GPT-4 in legal domain. I see it would strengthen ability to analyze, find, and present valuable information, analytics, and decision tools to legal practitioners. For example, in legal research, LexisNexis, we spend lots of efforts on the legal research. Large language models can help lawyers find more accurate and relevant legal information faster by searching through the legal data and other resources. And lawyers can ask specific legal questions, and the technology can provide them with accurate information. One example could be asking the ChatGPT question about specific legal topics to gain a better understanding of new and emerging ideas, including the legal concept and terminology. And also see great opportunity for Nexis. We're offering better documents analysis, because large language model can help lawyers review and analyze legal documents such as contracts, agreements, and case law. It can quickly identify the key issues, provisions, and potential risk or opportunities within the documents. One of the most significant impacts of generative AI in the legal field is this automation of legal drafting. And large language models can assist lawyers in drafting legal memos and providing suggestions for phrasing, like phrases, grammar, and structure. They're also beneficial for due diligence. I think large language model can assist lawyers in conducting due diligence for mergers and acquisitions. It can help lawyers review, for example, financial statements, contracts, and other legal documents to extract the deal point and identify potential legal and financial risks. Overall, it's a great opportunity for LexisNexis by leveraging large language models. And that's our eventual purpose. We want to assist lawyers in streamlining their workflow, increasing efficiency, and improving the quality of their work.
Thank you, Min. That is a very good answer. I guess this brings us to segue into the next topic we have in line. I guess it probably is the most spicy question for the panel here, which is the impact of technologies such as ChatGPT having right now in the legal field. Both in the short term or long term, does the panel see this as a lawyer replacing technology, myself included? Or do we see this as a lawyer assistive technology? Perhaps we can start with our friends in private practice, Weijet, perhaps?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I do believe it's lawyer assistive at the moment, not replacing yet. It has not reached that advanced level. But just to give a recap as to how useful it has been for my practice, there's a little bit of background. I'm still a junior lawyer, so I do a lot of the back-end work before counsel appears before a panel of judges or arbitrator. But I also set up my own firm recently, and so I'm constantly looking for ways to save time and effort. So how ChatGPT comes into the picture and helps me is mainly three ways, and it's already been alluded by Min Chen just now. So number one, really the drafting of documents. It makes things much easier, like just drafting emails, letter of demands, cease and desist letters. As long as your prompt is accurate and specific and nuanced enough, it is able to generate a first draft for you. And really what every lawyer wants is really a good first draft. It may not be perfect, maybe 70% perfect, but you can improve upon it. But the draft is already there, and that's where a lot of time is saved. It can even draft contracts for you, wills for you, statement of claims. So I have, experimented a lot, and if you put if you prompt it specific enough, it really can generate quite specific documents. So that is on the drafting of documents side. And I must also mention that it can translate documents from English to Bahasa Malaysia or to Mandarin quite well. Of course, it's not 100% accurate, but it's a good first draft. Number two, legal research, like what Min Chen said. They can summarize a point of law very quickly for you. You don't need to reach out to that huge textbook in your library, like on very obscure topics. Perhaps you have never done a recusal of a judge before, so you just want a very short 3-paragraph summary. It can provide it for you. It can suggest cases for you to read upon, to delve deeper into the topic. And they can even summarize those cases for you if you really don't have the time. And even in legal practice, it can even suggest like cross-examination questions for a personal injury claim involving an accident, like, sample cross-examination questions that regularly lawyers need to do. So it gives you an idea. It gives you a good first start and draft, if I may emphasize again, insofar as legal research is concerned. And number three, it can also help in business development in the sense that a lot of ways how we market ourselves is that we write articles on recent developments on the law. So let's say, you see the US big tech companies have a lot of layoffs recently. You may want to do like a quick summary of the point of law on retrenchment in Malaysia, for example. So, I prompted ChatGPT to just give me 5 quick points on the law of retrenchment in Malaysia. It managed to successfully, come up with a good article, and then I can add, amend, edit it. So again, a good first draft. And I must say, for drafting an article, you can actually tailor what writing style, what tone, and the target audience that you want. So let's say I can even prompt to say that, hey, I'm a 10-year lawyer. I have 10 years experience as an employment lawyer. I like to write short and punchy sentences. I like to insert humor in my articles. And this article is dedicated to the employer, not really the employee insofar as retrenchment law is concerned. So it can even tailor and customize your article to that extent. So to answer your question, Oliver, if there are good junior lawyers or who can use ChatGPT to assist them in their legal work, to help senior counsel or the partners, that would be really helpful for the legal sector in general. But I do foresee that, some firms may see certain roles like paralegals or legal interns to be less relevant now that you have an AI tool to provide a good first draft of many of these documents. So I cannot really foresee the future, but if AI will advance, I presume, and to the point at which it can generate a document which is like almost 85 to 90% what you desire, then really you will see a real threat to the junior side of the legal profession. So that's just my summary for today.
Thank you, Wei-Jiat. That's a very good insight, especially on the development of junior lawyers. On this end, I'd like to have a follow-up question to Raymond on whether you have any insights from a Hong Kong perspective. And the additional question I want to ask you is, do you think generative AI such as ChatGPT makes one a better lawyer or a worse lawyer?
Thank you, Oliver, and thank you, Jet Lim. Young lawyers are more capable and fast learners, especially in tech things. And when I'm having in touch with the ChatGPT, it reminds me I did something similar in 20 years ago when I was a junior. All I did is I collect a lot of drafting and keep it in my personal folder as a template. Whenever I need to write a demand letter or a termination letter, I don't have to write it all over again. I can find the right template and then use it and modify that. It's near maybe 80% or 70% fits, but I never need to rewrite it from scratch. This is exactly what part of ChatGPT doing for us right now. And I recall around a month ago when I'm talking to a junior lawyer in our firm, I show the ChatGPT to my junior colleagues and say, look what the ChatGPT can do. It can write a letter in a second, within seconds. And then the initial feedback from my junior said, hey, boss, don't fire me. I'm still good. That is what their reaction, very honest reaction. But from my perspective is these machines really helps lawyers. I mean, we a lot. It saves us a lot of time, like Jet Lim said, not just providing a first draft, but we can prompt the machine, say, I want a letter with a stronger tone. I want a letter or in a mild tone. It is very smart. It can save a lot of time, improve our work efficiency, and we still need lawyer because we can't copy and paste and use the letter or contract right away. We need heavy customizations, and we need to know our client situations so as to adopt the client situation in the writing to fit for the use. So lawyers, I don't see that they can be dispensed with right now. And but lawyers, if they cannot leverage the technology, then they may be dispensed with in a short period of time. Because as a senior lawyer, in Hong Kong, we want efficient. So I don't mind hiring more lawyers, but I need them to work faster. And with those engines, machines, that certainly help them work faster.
Yeah, Raymond, thank you. I relate to that so much because that's kind of how I was brought up as well when I first entered the legal profession. Just look into my boss's folders of the tons and tons of templates and try to learn my way from it. To that, I'd like to pass on to Jack to see if you have any insights. And the follow-up question I have for you, Jack, is let's say you do encourage the adoption of ChatGPT, for example, in your team members. Like, if we do this, like, how do you ensure that it's being used appropriately without losing the integrity required for us to do our jobs and perform our duties?
Thanks, Oliver and Raymond, as well as we chat. Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. Well, I think it comes back to some fundamental questions around why we do what we do, right? So ChatGPT or large language models, they're just another tool in the toolbox, the lawyer's toolbox, if I may say so today. And it comes down to why are we using it? If we are using it for drafting, I think we had quite a number of illustrations from Jet and Raymond. Then let me take it to another extreme. Say we do it for legal research with like a lot of us junior lawyers used to do and continue to do with trial work and so we need to understand that there are limitations with the technology, and if you go through say the GPT-4 technical card or technical report, it will tell you that the data sets in which the model was trained was cut off as of September 2021. So you do still need the lawyer in the loop, if I may use the term, to make sure you have the latest authorities. Well, as far as drafting of legal documentation goes, I think that is the relatively safe. But if you start looking at the judicial precedents and case law, you need to understand the system limitations and how you close those gaps. In terms of using ChatGPT, I think from a news report as of late February, a lot of the Wall Street banks have said that the system is at the moment they have not deployed it, and by and large the computing network prohibits the use of ChatGPT. Amongst other reasons, and speaking from an FI perspective, we have a lot of policies around third-party vendor management. There's a lot of concern around the sharing of sensitive information, whether it's confidential information, financial information, or personal data. So those are the key considerations, and whether it's OpenAI or any other tech vendor, that will need to go through, obviously, a robust due diligence process. And I imagine the same for any law firm who is looking to onboard a technology service provider. But beyond that, there are risks, and I think there was it was reported in the same Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal news report where Verizon was basically saying that no, we're not going to use ChatGPT because there was a risk that when they use it for source code reviews, you put it through the system to detect errors in coding. There's a risk that you lose the copyright in the source code, or you lose your proprietary rights in those in the material that you have generated and put in the system. So I guess it goes back to the question around, look, what are we going to use the system for? And inherently, there will be risk, and how is the user cognizant of those risks, and how you close the gaps in so far as mitigating those risks. I'll pause there and hope that has answered your question, Oliver.
It certainly does. Thank you. And speaking of risk, I guess this will be a good segue into the next question that I want to touch on, which is the flip side, the pitfalls and risk of adopting technologies such as ChatGPT. So just to update the panel here, some of us may already know, as this is fresh out of the gate, that ChatGPT has suffered its very first data privacy breach some time ago, where according to the blog post, the breach came about during an outage and exposed payment-related and other personal information of 1.2% of the ChatGPT Plus subscribers who were active during a 9-hour window. So I guess my follow-up reaction and question to this is whether by adopting this kind of technology, is it inevitable that we'll run into these issues, or where do we see this from a risk perspective, perhaps with Min?
Yeah, I think before adopting ChatGPT and other advanced content generating technologies, it's essential for business to have a thorough understanding of the technology with its strengths and limitation. Previously, all the lawyers, the legal counsel to talk about the strengths and limitations. I think that includes understanding how the technology works, how the data is used, and the potential buyers it may have. What are the lower hanging fruits that you have much more confidence to quickly implement and utilize without running through lots of risk? And what are those cautious areas you would like to have a careful design before you launch anything for serious legal research or other legal decision-making related process? And it's worth noting that in most of features currently live in production, large language models such as ChatGPT or GPT-4, they're just one component of overall solution or technique. It's not just the replacement, completed replacement. They're typically combined with other machine learning models to ensure the highest quality of the results in the most cost-efficient manner. And for LexisNexis, for example, we are actively experimenting, delivering different use case by leveraging large language models such as ChatGPT, GPT 3.5, or even GPT-4. But in every review meeting with senior executives, we reinforce we're following relaxed, responsible AI principle with a focus on ethics, safety, which also considering reliability, sustainability. I think business should establish guidelines and standards for use of generative AI to ensure the generated content is accurate, unbiased, ethical, and legally compliant. Like in LexisNexis, we have a team to monitor and review each project that will utilize machine learning and large language models at the beginning of the project. So we have this like a risk level assessment to identify any potential issues or bias for team to take corrective actions when necessary. We also continue having human in the loop. Previously, I heard one lawyer talk about lawyer in the loop. It's a similar things because we have the human in the loop so that we have the human oversight to ensure that the generated content is of high quality, aligned with our values and objectives. Overall, I think business can harness the potential of advanced AI technology to perform daily legal tasks with accuracy and efficiency by using a combination of AI-powered tool and human expertise. When AI can automate many repeated tasks and to improve the efficiency, it's important to remember that AI is not a substitute for human judgment and expertise. So that's why earlier I mentioned about this large language model brings a uniqueness to strengthen the collaboration between human and AI.
Thank you, Min. I think you raise a very good point, is that I was planning to ask this follow-up question, is that so I understand that the development of products, regardless of the development of technologies such as ChatGPT, is that companies like LexisNexis will not only look into one component. So the follow-up question I have is how do you foresee the product development market in the future? And will there be situations where we may be observing products that over-rely on this sort of technology, resulting in things that are undesirable, which are less than ideal, etc.?
Not in near future, because the large language model right now, the common issue is it could make up the facts. It could hallucinate the facts. It's like less reliable in professional domain when it comes to text generation task. Over time, in the future, we might like trying to solely rely on large language model when it gradually fixes this like misinformation issue. But nowadays, because we see this downside pitfall about the large language models sometimes could be confidently wrong because it learned the style, the tone is like in an authoritative way, but it just completely make up the facts. Sometimes it could mislead people. That's why nowadays, in order to make sure, because we are in a serious legal domain, not like a general open domain, this type of thing that people like care less about that a little bit, but because this is a serious legal domain, nowadays we still use the mixed solution, trying to make up the issues of large language model brings to the market.
Thank you, Min. And Weijia, do you see this problem in private practice? Namely, if we have practitioners, say, already relying on ChatGPT, and they kind of get misled by the explainability or the personalities they see in ChatGPT or related models.
I mean, I can elaborate a little bit from a litigation perspective. So whenever I ask ChatGPT to suggest certain case laws to read on a specific topic, there are situations where they misrepresent what the case is about. So in other words, they summarize the case wrongly. So I was doing a research on medical negligence before this, and I wanted case law to show that, an expert witness is not always required by a plaintiff to succeed. And they gave 3 to 4 cases from the UK and Australia, and I was excited. Well, there are cases apparently on this subject. And I look at those cases on Lexis, and they are far from what was being described in ChatGPT. So you have to be careful. I've even reached to an extent where fictitious statutes are being invented by ChatGPT. So, for example, I was researching on tenancy law in Malaysia, and then a tenancy act appeared in ChatGPT when there is no such legislation in Malaysia. So I'm starting to doubt sometimes as to how, ChatGPT derives its findings and answers from. But you have to be careful as a lawyer. That is why I say it's a good first draft and provider, but ultimately you need to do your own due diligence and always don't trust completely what is being represented. So you still need a lawyer to sieve through the documents, to sieve through the findings of ChatGPT. I've seen in the chat box some messages querying on, confidentiality, about legal privilege. As far as litigation is concerned, what I try to do is not to be so specific as to identify, as that will lead to your client being identified or a specific case being identified. Try to use quite generic terms as possible. But I understand that if you're a corporate lawyer where you expect a contract to be reviewed by AI, then really you have to upload the entire document. And I'm not really sure how to get about that. But insofar as litigation is concerned, there are at least certain ways in which we can circumvent the issue of confidentiality. Again, you really need to double check what is being presented by ChatGPT, because as it is now, it is not that accurate. Probably because I suspect, and I may not be right, but it's more Anglo bias in the sense that it's probably more comprehensive when it comes to US and UK developments of the law, but maybe in other parts of the world, like Malaysia, it may not be a big, common law jurisdiction. There's not much, it's not quite robust and accurate enough. So we really need to be a little bit careful, especially if you're in these parts of the world.
Interesting, thank you. But with how things are, just to go deeper in this end, with how things are right now, to you as a Malaysian lawyer, do you see it right now as a time saver at all if you have to apply such an amount of scrutiny, as opposed to, for example, asking your junior lawyer to have a first draft for you before you work on, as is the traditional way?
I mean, I can always do both. I ask the junior lawyer and I check ChatGPT, and sometimes ChatGPT does provide certain insights and case laws that the junior lawyer cannot, and vice versa. The junior lawyer may, obviously most of the time, the junior lawyer has a more nuanced answer because he understands the facts, the backgrounds, what you want exactly. So they are complementary. I don't see them as being, competing necessarily, but it does save time as a whole for me, insofar as legal research and legal drafting is concerned. No two ways about it. It's just that you have to do your own due diligence on the findings of ChatGPT. That's all I'm saying at the moment. Yep.
Raymond and Jack, do you have any thoughts about this?
From a manager point of view, just like knowing ChatGPT is, I don't know ChatGPT too long. I know him only like around a month. He's like a new staff to our firm. And just like any other new staff, I don't really trust them until I use them and until they provide works to me and I proofread them and check them and see if they are entirely correct without careless and silly mistakes, without citing the wrong case, wrong laws, wrong interpretation of the rules. So, and perhaps some of us may know that ChatGPT has a reputation of it cannot be everything correct. In particular, especially it's not like a calculator machine. Its mathematics performance is always bad. It only drafts. It draft pretty well, but finding cases, I might have reservations in relying on ChatGPT finding me the right cases right now. So from a manager point of view, I need some more time to observe what ChatGPT will be capable of in a little bit longer of time. But I do think not just law firm, but a lot of other companies and even the tech development companies, tech companies, so as some of our clients in the science and technology park in Hong Kong, they're all developing models or platforms incorporating AI and machine learning in itself. Just like the way we upload a video on YouTube, and AI will use and YouTube will use AI to detect whether my video, my content upload is infringing any other music's contents. And if the AI finds so, then I will be debarred from uploading my content on the YouTube. It's also an AI in the machine, and so as some other platform already available right now. Yes, they all facing the same questions. They all facing the same liabilities and the problems. The data privacy, the intellectual property right issues, the antitrust, the consumer liabilities, things like that. It opens to all AI used machine or platform.
Hi, I think a large part of all of the issues we have with ChatGPT or large language models, I think comes down to understanding the technology. And end of the day, the LLM is a trained model, and it's basically, if I may simplify, using mathematics and looking at tuning the model in such a way that it can predict. The problem with predictions is that predictions can be wrong, and the way the model is trained is to basically look at relationships, probability, and what have you. So there are all those imperfections, which is why you have hallucinations and you have inaccuracies and even misinformation. So that aside, there are ways to tune the system, and the system can get better with time. I guess it's a matter of understanding again those weaknesses. And I think I wanted to also share the other question that is, I guess, top of mind with clients, and if a law firm is using traditional methods and then hybrid methods or even pure AI methods, how do you charge your clients, and and how do you think about your fee arrangements? So I think that's an open question today, because the technology is so new. Yes, we have your hourly charge arrangements, and so with the new technology or tool that's available, does that mean that it will bring rates down, or I don't know. And it may well be a firm will say, look, I have a traditional fee model, which necessarily means all the traditional methods. I have a team, I have my associates, and then we do our research, we do our drafting, and we charge basically status quo. And the other model is that, look, I have a GPT or a large language model system which I can use, and then because of that model or system that's in use, my fees are adjusted accordingly. So I don't know. So that's an open question. But I wanted to pick up on one very interesting question from the Q&A, and that's about whether it will have an effect on the skills and experience of practitioners if we leverage generative AI and large language models. Maybe to unpack this on a few levels, a lot of what we do today and how we charge is because we are charging based on experience. And how do you put a value on that? So if you have such tools today to, I guess, reduce the learning curve, I wonder if that's in a way a disservice to the profession and the renewal of the members of the profession, because the way we are trained as lawyers and we are all in the common law tradition is basically, look, you go do your research, you compare, you do your legal analysis, basically you do the hard yards. But now with the tool we have today, I guess the training has to change in such a way that, yes, you have this tool available to you, but you still need to understand why you're using it, the risk with using it, and how you as a lawyer can add value to make sure that you deliver value to your clients. Otherwise, there's a risk of, I guess, loss in terms of the skills and experience of lawyering, if you like. And then how do you again come back to justify the cost arrangements? And finally, how do you ensure the sustainability and renewal of the profession? Those are just some quick thoughts of mine. I don't necessarily have all the answers. Yeah.
Thank you, Jack. Those are some very good insights, because I totally agree with what you said. For example, the billable hour model has literally been the existence of my life previously, before I came to LexisNexis. But now that I'm on the other side of the fence, I'm kind of thinking from a client perspective, right? Is that if I can instruct external counsels at a lower fee for more reasonable performance, then I would do it. So I also don't have an answer to this issue, but I think it's a good time for us to dip into some of the questions we receive. And I think there's one that'll be great for Weijet and Raymond to weigh in. So thank you, Simon, for the question. So it says, I'm sure you heard about Do Not Pay. They have robot lawyers to do trial work in the US. How do you see it shaping the legal practice in the short term?
Okay,
Perhaps
I certainly don't see robot lawyers appearing in court, at least in Malaysia. Although in Malaysia, we have advanced to a stage where certain interlocutory hearings or simple hearings are done through what we call an e-review system. So it's kind of like a WhatsApp group where you have the judge and the registrar and both parties there, and then you type out your arguments. Not all judges like this kind of format, but there are judges that prefer, everything to be in a group chat, in an argument. And, an AI or robot may, enter itself there. But beyond those very limited circumstances, I don't think that Malaysia, at the very least, is ready for that kind of model. Lawyers are still required. Lawyers still need to know, what the judges like and don't like. There's a nuanced way of presenting. There is judgment on what to emphasize and what not to bring up in the course of your arguments. Those are skills that lawyers still retain and will retain, I believe, in the near future. If I can just go back a little bit to what Jack mentioned earlier, on the billable hour model versus the fixed fee model. So I was browsing Twitter, and there are a lot of legal tech people that say that big law and large law firms would be one of the slowest to adopt AI and ChatGPT, these kind of tools, because it directly affects the billable hour model, in which is the bedrock on how they are run. Whereas smaller law firms may want to embrace it quite quickly because it saves time and costs. For Malaysia, I cannot speak for other jurisdictions, we are increasingly coming to a scenario where clients prefer a fixed fee rather than the billable hour kind of model. I'm not sure about Hong Kong or other parts of the world. So in Malaysia, I would think that ChatGPT would be embraced by most lawyers because it does save time, seeing that there's a fixed fee, but it may not be the case for other jurisdictions. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
In Hong Kong, for litigation practice, I think the majority of the law firms still adopt the time charge basis, charge what they have done, yes, because litigations is more lengthy and hard to anticipate what might come up and what might not. For commercial practice, general commercial practice, advising on the contracts or advising on the merger and acquisitions is more, the majority of the firm may adopt the fixed fee basis because I want this deal be concluded within 50 hours or 80 hours. Please do it within 80 hours. Otherwise, I'm not paying you anymore. That is the more common approach, I believe. And talking about having GPT tools or any other likewise research or AI tools in pocket, shall we have other fees arrangement with clients? I think it's not yet happened in our firm, but I think it already happens here in Hong Kong. Some legal service providers, they provide templates, contracts, draft by machines, if I'm correct. They deal with more simple kind of contracts like tenancy agreements or NDA or safe agreements. Yeah, they pay a one-time fees or one-time fees for 10 contracts. Then that's kind of things already happens. But whether or not law firm will start adopting this practice in their private practice because of the use of GPT, it may happen. I don't know. Maybe hybrid, more fees model. If you want a machine-generated contract, I charge you this. If you want a machine-generated with commentary from professional qualified lawyers, we may charge this. But if you hate machines, you want a traditional way, 100% by human, there's another charge, traditional charge. Yeah, that sounds practical to me. Is that right, Jet Lim?
Yeah. I mean, but then, you know, if the law firm produces the contract generated entirely by AI, does it mean its risk for professional negligence then gets lower since the client adopted to pay lesser for that model, for that contract? I don't know, just something on my mind.
So there must be a premium add-on, not just the monthly subscription fee for ChatGPT, because we take a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
If we provide the document, we will sue.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a funny question in the back that says, wouldn't that mean that the robot lawyer would need to be called to the bar in the first place?
Yeah, like I share in one of my recent YouTube content about the AI tools. Yeah, I've read the news that US have AI lawyer passing law exam, passing medical exams. But whether or not they can pass the bar exam or the Hong Kong legal professional exams, that's another thing. Whether they will be qualified to sit for the exam, that's another matter for the association or the local authorizations matters. And whether or not the court of Hong Kong will grant a practitioner certificate to a non-human, that might take time for arguing.
Indeed, I'm sure it would take time. Or not happen at all, who knows? So I have an interesting product question here, perhaps Min can weigh in. So thank you, Adam. So the question says, I understand that currently ChatGPT is accessing public data. Can we point ChatGPT to our own firm's internal resources, such as standard forms, internal know-how, and use it to explore this?
Yeah, that's fine too. So most of the time right now, most of the use case we've seen is you just directly use the base model through prompts. So we're talking about we properly design the prompts, and then we can already get pretty good results. But to address the issue like a hallucination issue, there's other issues, particularly where we're facing a legal domain, a serious legal domain. well, you could do a fine tuning against the model. There are two ways for you to do. One is you just prepare your own specific legal corpus and data. You fine tune with this model. The other is to do the further pre-train. So that is mainly to train your model to become more legally generalized. Because right now it's a generalized model, but not for a specific vertical domain. So either through further pre-train or through fine-tune against the model, you can use your own legal corpus to train this model.
Thank you, Min. I believe it's a good segue to a follow-up question, which is, going forward, will Lexis search features employ GPT if it hasn't already, for example, for the search results delivery?
That's a good question. We are actually experimenting leveraging ChatGPT, GPT-4 to improve the search relevancy. And we are actually going to launch an A/B test. We will first launch for the US market because we have a broader market there. We will test the traffic, test the feedback from the customer. Sorry, we have a larger traffic, so we want to test with the customer. So I just give you one feature we're working on. We actually work on multiple different features. Again, it's not like replace the current search engine. It's more like a supplement. We still rely on our self-developed search engine, but supplement in-house by ChatGPT or GPT-4. One of the use case is query suggestion. So it's like a query type ahead. This is a very common feature you have seen before, but we're right now leveraging the ChatGPT, GPT-4 to enhance the quality, particularly for the semantically relevant query suggestion and exchangeable query suggestion, as well as personalized query suggestion. So that is something like, particularly for the personalization part, it's more like we can understand when the customer type their queries, we're able to understand your search history, your search context, or even your own profile, and we can predict the most tailor-made suggested query for you to guide you to have a better result, because most of the time customers just they're struggling with finding a proper term to do the search, right? That could be one of the issues. Well, we found out through large language model, it actually can improve this personalized search query much better. So this is something we're working on experiment. We already see a promising result. And we are actually targeting, as I mentioned, we're actually targeting to launch for the A/B customer testing in June.
Thank you, Min. I'm conscious of time, but we still have some interesting questions. This one's funny. Do any of the panelists recommend the paid version of ChatGPT? Any thoughts?
I didn't pay for it. I used the free version so far. And when I'm looking at the Q&A, I really strongly suggest that all legal practitioners should have touch with the ChatGPT as soon as possible, because it's a new tag. It is so easy to use, and the speed of providing you a first draft is unbelievable. You're amazed by what he can do within split second.
I mean, I would highly recommend it. I think it's $20 US a month, which is quite worth it. I think ChatGPT 4, which requires payment, it's much more advanced than the free version, which is already very good, to be honest, the free version. But ChatGPT 4 has brought it up to a new level in my experience.
Jack, any chance the city's legal department is already using it?
Well, I mean, it is what it is today, and meaning I can't access it, so I'm not sure. I've tried it on a personal level, and I find it certainly intriguing, and I think there's a lot of potential. So, and with the potential, this is something which cuts across industries, and I certainly think that people are looking seriously at this and see how it can be leveraged. Yeah.
I do have a last question for Jack to see if you can give us some insights on this. So will using a paid version to train the model with our own data ensure that confidentiality is protected and that your own data is not used in the free version?
To be honest, I think this seems like a technology and commercial question. It comes down to how you design the solution, right? I mean, it's a matter of working it out with the software developer. There are so many variables at play. Is it going to be a closed loop? And then where is the data going to be housed? Is it on your premises or on the hosted on the developer's premises? So there are too many variables at play here. It really comes down, it's not a legal issue, but more a technology design and development and deployment piece. Even, I mean, one question that comes out is if you do deploy it, what are the COB, continuity of business considerations? Where does the data sit? What sort of uptime you need for this solution? And yeah, so there are just too many. I don't think we can cover, and it's less of a legal question. Yeah.
Thank you, Jack, for the wonderful insights. Roshni, I believe we're on time. Shall I pass it back to you?
Yes, please. On behalf of LexisNexis, I would like to thank our panelists, Jack Au, Min Chen, Raymond Chak, and Lim Wei Jie, and of course, our moderator, Oliver, for participating in today's panel discussion. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did, and thank you to all of you for spending your midweek lunch break with us. A recording of this panel will be available on our corporate websites soon, and if you would like to learn more about generative AI in LexisNexis solutions or request a free demo, please feel free to get in touch using the links in the chat or the QR codes that should be on your screen, and we'll be happy to arrange a session with you. Until next time, thank you so much and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.